Hello and welcome to module number 7, where we are going to give an introduction to financial functions. So this is a very specialized field, so we are not going to be going too deep into it. So like I promised earlier on, I'm going to show you how to make a simple loan schedule that helps you to check if I want to borrow so much for my house, a home loan, over 20 years at such an interest rate, what are the payments going to be? And the worksheet is going to enable you to play around with the period, with the loan amount, with the interest rate, and you can see how the repayments are fluctuating. So earlier on, I showed you how to insert a worksheet by coming down here and right-clicking and saying insert. But you can also insert a new worksheet by simply clicking on this plus button for a new sheet. So let's create a new worksheet and then we give it a name, loans. So you right click on the name and you say rename, and let's call it loans, and you press enter. So we are going to start by entering the column headings. So the first column heading we want in A1 is the loan amount. In other words, how much money do we want to borrow? So let us change the width of these columns. Loan amount, and then number of years over which we want to pay. And then next one, we want months per year. In other words, how many months are in each year. And then D gives us the period, meaning the total number of months over which we are going to be paying. And then we need the interest rate. So the interest rate, we are going to be putting it as a fraction. If it is 10%, we just put it as 0.1 and so forth. And then in F, that's where we are going to calculate the installment. So earlier on we saw a number of date functions and string functions. In the same way, we also have quite a lot of financial functions. Some of the functions help you to calculate loans. Some of them, they help you to calculate investments. Like if I have got $1,000 today, if I put it in the bank at 10% interest per year, what is the future value after 10 years or after 15 years? So quite a lot of functions. But the function we are going to be using here is called a PMT, a payment function. So let's start by putting in some figures. Let's say we want to borrow $1 million over 20 years. And then here we put the number of years, number of months per year. So we then put a formula to calculate the period. So we say equal to the years times the months per year. So this makes it easier for us when we change the number of years. We don't have to do a calculation outside to translate it into number of months or periods. So let's put an interest rate, say, of 0.1, which is 10%. So loan amount 1 million, 20 years, 240 months, and interest rate of 0.1. So the installment is given by the payment function, that PMT function. So that PMT function, its formula, let me put it here. It basically says equal to, right, let me zoom in. So the installment equal to PMT, that's the function, and then the interest divided by 12, because remember the interest rate is per year. When you get an interest rate of 10%, it means 10% per year, but we want the interest per month, so we divide by 12, and then after the comma we put the number of months, right? So in this case it would be 240, but in the formula let's just put period. That's the total number of months, period, and then we put the loan amount. So this formula gives us the installment, the monthly payment. It's PMT into the interest rate divided by 12, then you put comma, then the period, then comma, then the loan amount. So you can see that some of the information is straightforward because we are just going to get it from the cells, but other information needs to be calculated. Other information needs to be calculated. So if we come here now and we put in the formula that says equal to, then we put the PMT function, open bracket, the interest rate is in this cell. So we click on E2 and we say divided by 12, and we put our comma, and the periods are in this cell, so we click on that cell for the period and we put comma, and then lastly we want the loan amount, so we click on the loan amount and we close. So this fulfills the formula. Installment is equal to PMT into interest rate, which is in E2, divided by 12, comma, the period is in D2, comma, the loan amount is in A2. So we press enter. So you can see that it gives us a negative 9,650 per month. So what we need to do is to put a minus sign in front of the loan amount. So we put a minus on the loan amount. So in our actual formula here, it will also be minus A2. We press enter, and now it gives us a positive installment. Alright, so I'd put this description up here so that you can see the exact formula in words. So what we are going to do is we are going to highlight from A to E, and then we are going to copy down like this. Right, so you can see that some of the fields, like the interest rate, it's things we want to change it. So that's what happens sometimes when you just drag and copy. The Excel uses its own common sense, which is different from ours, and it will increment a field whichever way it thinks. But what we want to do is to make sure that the interest rate remains 0.1 throughout. So you simply drag it again as an individual field from top to bottom. So we want to play around now. Say for example, I can afford an installment, say up to 12,000. So what I want to do is to see what loan amount I can put in and still manage to pay 12,000 per month. So that was $1 million. Let me say 500,000. So $1.5 million. You can see that automatically it jumps to 14,000. But my limit is 12,000. So I can now play around 100,000. So that is the what if analysis I was talking about. You are playing around and seeing, what if I change the loan amount? What if I change the period? You see, so I could decide and say I keep the loan amount the same, but I change the number of years. What if I pay over 15 years? You can see that it increases the installment. So I can keep playing around, right? 10 years now is at 13. So let me put it 11 years, 12,500. 12 years, 11,950. So I can see now that this is the most ideal period. So I'm just going to get the same amount of loan, but for a shorter period, and I pay almost 12,000 per month. So with a schedule like this one, you can literally just play around and say, what if I change the interest rate? If you got a bank, say with a better interest rate, let's go to this cell and say they have an interest rate of 0.08, which is 8%. It gives us now an installment of 8,300. You see, so you need to know which of these columns you can change in a what if. You can change the loan amount, you can change the number of years, and you can also change the interest rate, but you can't change the number of months per year, and you can't change the period because it's simply calculating the number of years times the months per year. So what we have got from this particular module is basically this payment formula, installment equal to PMT function into the interest rate, which we put in this column, divided by 12, because that is per year, but we want interest rate per month, then comma the period, which is the total number of months over which we are paying the loan, and then comma, we put a minus and the loan amount, which is in this first column. So you can already see, without going to the bank to ask them how much you need to pay per month, you can simply check what is their current interest rate, and you simply feed it into a worksheet like this one here. All right, so that's all we're going to do on this financial function. Like I said, there are other functions like the future values, present values, internal rate of return. You also have financial functions to do with depreciation of assets and so forth. So that on its own, it's a full course as it is. All right, so let's meet in the next module, where we are going to be discussing conditional formatting.